Chapter 1. Victor's circle recently started a new game. Pretend to be bankrupt for a month. The purpose? To test the loyalty of their girlfriends. To ensure authenticity, the challenger's friends and family would all help with the act, even the company would appoint a new boss. Victor, dressed in a $5 t-shirt and wearing a construction helmet, confidently went to find the woman he loved most. But Lara looked at him with disgust and called security to throw him out. He stood there in a daze for a long time before tremblingly dialing another number. Selena. I've gone bankrupt. I'm homeless. On the other end, a soft, childlike voice comforted him. Daddy, don't worry. I'll give you my room to stay in. Victor's call came when I was in the kitchen baking a cake. My daughter, who had been playing on my phone, answered it instantly. Whatever he said made my 4-year-old light up with joy. She came running to me, losing one of her shoes in the process. Mommy, this is great. Daddy is bankrupt. He can finally spend my birthday with me this year. Bankrupt? The call was still connected, and the name displayed was marked ex-husband. The last time I got a call from Victor was during the new year. He only contacted me on holidays, asking me to play the loving wife in front of his parents, to make the elders happy. But as soon as we left their house, he would coldly fling my hand away and drive off to meet Lara. His car would be packed with gift boxes in the back seat and a sea of red roses on the passenger side. I'd clutch the $1,500 performance fee he gave me, standing in the cold wind, feeling nothing but relief. Because with that money, I could pay 6 months of rent for Sophia and me. Hearing that Victor had gone bankrupt, I was only confused. Why didn't he go to the woman he doted on, Lara? Why was he calling me, someone he could barely stand? Victor cautiously asked. Selena, I have nowhere else to go. I haven't eaten all day. Can you take me in? I was about to say no, but my daughter clutched the hem of my dress, her grape-like eyes blinking with hope and pleading. Mommy, let Daddy spend my birthday with me just this once. All the other kids have both their parents on their birthdays. I looked down, my heart aching. I knew Sophia longed for her father's love. Victor actually cared about Sophia. He used to take her to amusement parks, buy her pretty dresses, and gift her complete sets of princess blind boxes. But one day, Sophia came back home with her head hanging low and said she would never bother her dad again. I dropped the spatula and stormed into the villa. With the strength of someone who once washed 1,000 plates in a day, I slapped Lara across the face. Then I shoved her head into the toilet, letting her rinse that foul mouth of hers. Victor never mentioned seeing Sophia again after that. But today is Sophia's birthday, and all she wants is for her parents to be there with her. I gave in. Victor, Sophia misses you. You can come over and have dinner with her. On the other end of the call, the man sighed in relief. The kind of relief that says, at least not everything is lost. You still live in Jinhua Huaching, right? I'll be there soon. I was confused. What's that place? I've never been there. I live in Bihuyuan, close to Sophia's preschool, right outside. There's a street full of food stalls. At night, you can hear the karaoke from the KTV across the road, and the cart selling cockroach poison passes by at the same time every evening. It's a far cry from the upscale neighborhood Victor was talking about. Victor went silent for a moment, then asked for my current address. Even dressed in cheap, second-hand clothes, the man's aura was still striking. The moment he stepped inside, Sophia ran to hug his leg. Victor lovingly patted her head, but after scanning the small 2-bedroom apartment, the warmth in his eyes disappeared. You let my daughter live in a place like this? Chapter 2. My hand froze as I was making tea. The apartment was fully renovated with a clean, natural wooden style. Everything, from the home appliances to the cartoon floor mats, had been picked out by Sophia herself. I paid for it all, no matter how hard things got. I had never let Sophia feel ashamed of her life. But the first thing Victor did when he walked in was find fault with it. Of course, compared to the 500 square meter villa he shared with Lara, this place must feel cramped. I threw the tea into the trash and pulled my daughter close. Sophia, why don't you go check your room for the birthday gift Mommy hid for you? Sophia's face lit up, and she dashed into her room. My smile vanished as I turned to glare at Victor. This place? Who was the one begging to come to this place just now? You don't even have a place to stay yourself. So what gives you the right to criticize me? Victor quickly recovered from his lapse in composure. Right now, he was playing the role of a bankrupt man, not a CEO. Victor sat down on the sofa, looking slightly uneasy. You misunderstood me. I meant, why aren't you living in the house I gave you? I had no idea what he was talking about. What house? When we divorced, all I had was a suitcase and 3-month-old Sophia. The little money I had came from selling the jewelry my in-laws had given me. Victor frowned deeply. Selena, you gave me a child. Even if I don't love you, I would never mistreat my own flesh and blood. I had my secretary buy a house for you and Sophia, along with a large settlement. Didn't you take it? A house? A settlement? This was the first I'd ever heard of it, but I quickly figured it out. I didn't take anything. Are you bankrupt now and trying to con me? Victor's eyelids lowered, and guilt surged in his eyes. Selena, I would rather beg on the streets than extort you. Of all the people in this world, you're the one I've wronged the most. Chapter 3. The history between Victor and me is like something out of a melodramatic novel. I was the orphan of the man who saved Victor's father's life. At 8 years old, I was taken in by his family. Victor's father treated me with great affection. His mother adored my gentle nature. Victor, 2 years older than me, doted on me like a younger sister. He chased away bullies who tried to pick on me. He took me to see beautiful landscapes and interact with animals. He went out of his way to help me overcome the grief of losing my parents. And I, in turn, buried my secret crush on him in my diary. Selena likes Victor. Will Victor like Selena? In my senior year of college, I got my answer. Victor proposed to me. I was ecstatic that he liked me back. Naively, I followed him to the registry office, and we got our marriage certificate for just 9 yuan. I didn't know that his father had gifted me 10% of the company's shares as a dowry but required Victor to start his career from the bottom. Victor didn't marry me for love. He married me for a bright future and a better life. After the wedding, I immersed myself in the dream of love. I cooked for Victor, ironed his clothes, and picked him up from late-night business dinners. But while I was pregnant, he cheated on me with Lara, an understanding intern who was half a year older than me. He said Lara understood him, that she was his confidant, his true love. He told me that what he felt for me was nothing more than familial affection. Victor's father saw through Lara's cunning nature and declared that she would never be allowed into their family. Victor came up with a compromise. He wouldn't divorce me, so I could continue to appease his parents, but he would give Lara everything a wife would have, except the marriage certificate. That day was the 10th day after I had given birth to Sophia. For someone like me, who had always let Victor control everything, I ripped out my fork, grabbed the fruit knife, and without hesitation, stabbed myself in the abdomen. Marrying Victor was a mistake of my youth, a mistake born from being a hopeless romantic, from my utter stupidity. That he cheated, that he treated me like a maid, it was all my own fault. But I couldn't let him ruin my daughter's life, even if it killed me. Blood was everywhere. Victor froze. He panicked. Terrified and guilt-ridden, he pressed down on my wound, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Selena, don't die. But I was stubborn. He refused to divorce me. He wouldn't give me custody of my daughter. So, I threatened to kill myself. When they saved me, I tried again, and I'd keep doing it until I succeeded. If I died, his father would make Lara's life a living hell. To protect Lara, Victor finally signed the divorce papers. The day I left, he gave me instructions. The divorce had to stay a secret. On holidays, I had to play the loving wife in front of his parents. I agreed, but I charged him a fee of 10,000 yuan per appearance. Victor, the man who swore I was someone he would never want, had to pay me to stay in his life. He couldn't take it anymore. His face twisted in anger as he spat through gritted teeth. Do you feel nothing for me at all? Do you only love money? Fine. I won't give you a single cent. I'll wait for the day you're broke and come crawling back to me, begging. And he meant it. Chapter 4. The financial compensation in our divorce agreement? He didn't give me a single yuan. I did live in poverty for a while, but I pulled myself back up on my own. I never once begged him for help. Thinking back, Victor pressed his fingers to his temple. Those were just angry words. How could I possibly abandon you and Sophia? But your angry words were my reality for 4 years. Victor was left speechless. He looked around the room again. The items inside weren't cheap, but they didn't suggest wealth either. Lara's socks alone cost thousands. The clothes I wore were years old. Victor picked up his phone and called his secretary. Mr. Victor. Is there something you need? The new boss hadn't adjusted to the change in management yet. Victor's tone naturally carried authority. 4 years ago, the house I asked you to purchase in Jinhua Huaqing, along with the 80 million yuan settlement. Did you personally deliver them to my ex-wife? 80 million? That would have ensured a lifetime of comfort for Sophia and me. The secretary hesitated. Well, I think you'd better ask Miss Lara about that. Lara, again. A surge of overwhelming hatred rose in my chest. Lara had already taken so much. If she dared to touch Sophia's share, I'd make her pay dearly for it. At 7 p.m., I brought the cake to the table. Sophia squealed with delight. Wow. Mommy, you're amazing. I love you so much. Her classmates' group chat was buzzing with admiration. Did your mom make that herself? It's even better than the custom cakes from the store. So jealous of you. Sophia's mom is so talented. She can do fox makeup, make handmade bags, carve fruit, and even bake such a beautiful cake. In the past 4 years, I had done all kinds of work to make a living, honing myself into a jack of all trades. Sophia personally cut the cake, giving the first slice to me and the second to Victor. Daddy, this is the first birthday you've ever spent with me. I'm so happy. Victor was staring blankly at his phone, lost in thought, before snapping back to reality and exaggeratedly accepting the slice. I knew exactly what was on his mind. Chapter 5. Today was also Lara's birthday. Every year, he spends this day with her. That Sophia and her rival shared the same birthday was no coincidence. When I was 9 months pregnant, Lara was no longer satisfied with sending taunting texts or photos to provoke me. She escalated, mailing me the free gifts from the luxury goods Victor bought for her to humiliate me further. But that day, she went to the hospital to confront me face to face. It was her birthday, and Victor had given her an engagement ring, promising her a grand wedding. She came to invite me and my unborn daughter to their celebration. I was so enraged that I went into early labor. I hemorrhaged severely and nearly died with my baby. Victor scolded Lara for the first time. Lara's eyes brimmed with tears. I just want to be with you openly. Victor, full of pity, pulled her into his arms. Don't cry. I'm keeping her around to protect you. Separated by just one wall, I lay in the delivery room, clinging to half a life, filled only with nausea and despair. That kind of pain, bone deep, heart-wrenching, was unforgettable. So when Victor went bankrupt, all I felt was that he deserved it. After we finished the cake, I kicked him out. Victor pleaded. I have nowhere else to go. I shoved him out the door with force. That's not my problem. Go find her. The hallway light flickered on and off. Victor stood outside for a long time. His body slid down the door, his head drooping in defeat. The truth was, Lara was the first person he sought out. Victor thought that after pampering her for 4 years, giving her the stars if not the moon, Lara would surely be heartbroken and drop everything to help him. All it would take was for her to sell one of her properties, and she'd pass his test. He didn't want to make things too hard for her. Unfortunately, when Lara looked Victor up and down in his construction worker outfit, her disdain was impossible to hide. It was like a needle pierced his heart. Lara quickly masked her reaction with a smile and invited him in. She assumed Victor was orchestrating a birthday surprise for her, pretending to be bankrupt, only to reveal the real surprise later. But the next second, Lara saw the group chat of Victor's wealthy friends. Victor's family is done for this time. Even his parents fled the country overnight. Even after selling the company, he still owes 1 billion yuan. He'll be repaying that debt for the rest of his life. Not necessarily. Didn't he buy Lara so many properties and luxury goods? Sell those to repay the debt. Of course, Lara would have to live a hard life with him then. Someone suddenly remembered. Wait, isn't Lara in this group? Another person cursed. She was immediately removed from the group. Chapter 6. Lara's eyes widened. How cruel reality was. These same people who used to call her sister-in-law without hesitation now cursed her as they kicked her out of the group. Sensing the storm brewing, Lara decided to save herself. Your family is bankrupt? What does that have to do with me? Did we ever get married? Does your family even accept me? Why should I sell my properties? Victor's heart raced, wondering if he had misheard her. Was this the same understanding and considerate girlfriend he knew? How could her face suddenly look so different? Lara, what are you saying? I've given you everything except a marriage certificate. I practically gave you my heart. For you. I even abandoned my wife and child. Victor thought these words would make Lara remember their past affection. But instead, Lara sneered. All of that was your choice. Haven't you ever heard that gifts aren't meant to be taken back? I've been in your bed for 4 years. Surely you don't expect that to be for free. Besides, seeing Victor's bloodshot eyes, Lara became even more dismissive. A man who could abandon his wife and child, do you really think I would trust someone like that? Your wife almost died in the delivery room, and you didn't care. How do I know there won't be a mistress number 2 or 3, and that you won't treat me the same way? Victor staggered, barely able to stand, but he couldn't refute her. Lara held up her phone. Since you're useless now, let me do you a favor and tell you why your wife was so determined to divorce you. From the moment you got into bed with me, I sent her pictures of every single date, every single gift, and every single time you were with me. She held on for a long time. It wasn't until I pushed her into early labor that she finally confronted you. I'm not stupid like her, becoming your unpaid maid or your baby machine. Victor's mind felt like it had been struck by lightning. Selena had given him countless chances, over and over. Lara, tired of pretending, dropped her act entirely. Big shot. From the moment I joined the company, I dissected your social media profiles. I knew your preferences inside and out. You thought we were soulmates? I was just well prepared. Coming up with conversation topics to entertain you was exhausting. Victor couldn't hold back anymore. Furious, he grabbed Lara by the neck, as if trying to strangle her to death. You were only after my money. You exploited my feelings. You ruined my marriage. You almost cost me my child. My father was right, you're a curse. Before Victor could finish, security guards, called by Lara, dragged him out of the building and threw him outside. Chapter 7. It was late June, yet Victor was shivering uncontrollably from the cold. Just then, a notification from a group chat named Her True Heart popped up. The same people from the group chat came to check on their handiwork. Bro, we just put on a great show. Did Lara freak out and sell a house to save you? Victor furiously typed back. Selena is my wife. I'm going to win her back. At 7:20 a.m. I opened the door. A tall figure was sprawled across my doorstep. I stepped over Victor's waist to leave. Sophia, wearing her backpack, gleefully hopped over him. Victor rubbed his sleepy eyes and followed us. He naturally took Sophia's hand. I was about to brush him off, but Sophia beamed with a big smile. Daddy, can you stay at the school gate for a while later? I want everyone to see that I have a dad. That way, they won't gossip about mommy, and those uncles won't bother her. Sophia! I stopped her sternly. Victor looked at me, his eyes filled with sadness. I used to be as docile as a sloth, but now I'd become sharp and unyielding. It wasn't hard for him to imagine how many struggles and entanglements I had faced to become who I was now. Victor picked Sophia up with one arm. All right, not just for a while. Daddy will protect you and mommy every day from now on. He reached out his hand to hold mine, but I dodged. Disgusting. Chapter 8. At 188 meters tall, Victor stood out like a crane among chickens at the kindergarten gate, causing a commotion. Sophia, is that your dad? He's so handsome. He looks perfect with your mom. Why does your mom look so upset and not even talk to him? I didn't want anything to do with Victor, but I still needed his help with the house. So we temporarily traveled together. I got on the bus and took a seat in the back row. Victor sat down next to me. As soon as the bus started moving, I switched to another seat. Victor, who had never ridden a bus before, got up as well, but the jolt of the bus threw him backward, and he hit his head on a pole. I smirked coldly. The house was occupied by an elderly couple. When the old man and woman saw Victor, They immediately invited him in. It turned out they were Lara's parents. Victor was stunned. I laughed. What was there not to understand? Lara had secretly taken the house meant for Sophia and me and given it to her parents for their retirement. This large apartment was over 300 square meters, with marble floors and smart home appliances throughout. There were over 10 beautifully decorated rooms. Even the old couple's dog had its own room. Meanwhile, in the apartment I rented, Sophia slept in the master bedroom, but it was only 15 square meters. We had to maximize vertical space just to make it livable. Here, the kitchen was equipped with a vegetable cutter, a stir-fry machine, and a dishwasher, completely freeing up one's hands. At the bubble tea shop, I spent an entire day cutting fruit. My hands were so sore I couldn't even lift them. When I got home, I put on a pain relief patch and endured the pain to make dinner. The more I thought about it, the tighter my chest felt until I couldn't hold it in anymore and crouched down, taking deep breaths. For years of accumulated exhaustion hit me all at once. The first year after the divorce was the hardest and most miserable. Big companies, upon hearing I was a single mother with a 3-month-old baby, politely turned me down. I could only work part-time jobs at places with flexible hours and same-day pay. A 1-year-old is expensive and frequently sick. Money slipped through my fingers as soon as I earned it. I juggled multiple jobs. When I was tired, I drank coffee to stay awake, often working non-stop and falling asleep in my clothes. I had no husband to lean on, nor a family to pull me up. It felt like my spirit was a rubber band stretched to its limit, ready to snap. My knees gave out. Victor, panicked, caught me in his arms. Selena, don't think like that. I'm here now. I'll protect you. I won't let you suffer anymore. Chapter 9. When I was a child, classmates mocked me for having no parents. Victor had rushed in and fought them. As I cleaned his wounds, he had made the same promise that he would protect me for life. But later, every storm in my life came from him. If he hadn't gone bankrupt, if he hadn't lost everything, would he even remember our bond? Victor was more flustered than ever. He scooped me up, cradling me in his arms. I gasped for air like someone drowning. He wanted to take me to the hospital. I pointed across the street to the bubble tea shop. Just get me a cup of milk tea. After drinking half a cup of the hot beverage, my complexion improved. It was stress-induced mental exhaustion. Eating or drinking could quickly help me recover. Victor stared at me in shock before blurting out, "Then, let me take you to eat something nice." Wearing 60 yuan sneakers, he strode toward a high-end restaurant. I pulled him back. "Aren't you bankrupt? You should save your money." Victor had been walking in like he owned the place. In my words, he suddenly remembered something and awkwardly adjusted his clothes. I found a small, cheap diner. Victor's face twisted in discomfort. "Can you really eat something this cheap?" I could understand. When he was with Lara, even their takeout orders started at 3,000 yuan. I used to be a delivery driver. Each order earned me a few yuan, sometimes a dozen. More than once, I came across high-priced orders, but I always gave them to my coworkers. Because the delivery address was my old home, I refused to accept what my ex-husband and his mistress had done. Now, with a 35 yuan plate of stir-fried beef, Victor devoured 2 bowls of rice. I spoke up. "Ask your secretary if that house is under my name and my daughter's name." When the answer came back positive, a weight was finally lifted from my chest. Thank goodness the secretary was reliable. After the meal, I rushed to the housing registry and filed for a lost property certificate. Within 40 minutes, I had a replacement deed in my hands. Owners, Selena and Sophia. As I ran my fingers over the red cover, I finally felt at ease. Next, I headed to an electronics store. An hour later, I knocked on the door of the luxury apartment. "Uncle, Auntie, I'm sorry, but this house belongs to my daughter and me. Your daughter has illegally occupied it for 4 years. Please make arrangements to move out." Lara's parents weren't unreasonable people, so I treated them with respect. When they saw the property deed, their faces turned pale, and they hurried to call their daughter. "How could you take someone else's house? You told us Victor gave it to us as a gift. I've never taken anything from anyone in my life, and now you've ruined our reputation." Victor denied it immediately. I never gifted the house. I delivered the final blow. She didn't just steal the house. During my pregnancy, your daughter got involved with Victor, which directly led to the breakdown of my family. After the divorce, she also took the settlement and the house meant for my daughter and me, the one you've been living in. Because of that, we've struggled for 4 years. Lara's father's eyes widened in shock, and he stomped his foot in regret. I then showed him every taunting message Lara had ever sent me. I had kept them for 4 years without deleting a single one. Victor's ears turned red as he tried to hide in a corner. Ah, so even a cheater knows shame. Chapter 10. The chat logs exposed Lara's shameless arrogance and depravity. Her father was so furious he nearly coughed up blood, throwing his head back and howling. How could I have raised such a shameless creature? He was about to kneel in front of me. Miss, let this old man apologize to you. I helped him up. Lara hasn't arrived yet. There's no need to rush the apology. When Lara finally arrived, her father greeted her with several heavy slaps. Even after the beating, Lara held her head high. Yes, I took her man and her house. So what? Is there fairness in this world? Should I pretend to be like you, all high and mighty, and live in poverty for the rest of my life? Turning to Victor and me, she looked neither guilty nor ashamed. In fact, she seemed smug. Besides this house, I still have 4 more. 2 cars, 200 million yuan in savings, and countless luxury goods. Right now, the wealthiest person in this room is me. And you too, one is drowning in debt, and the other is just a wage earner. Do you think you can beat me? Can you even afford a lawyer? Let's see if you can outlast me. Lara's audacity was unmatched. She had the thickest skin I'd ever encountered. Without Lara, my daughter should have grown up with everything she needed. Like a princess, Lara continued to shout. Selena, kneel down right now and count out 100 times, and I might forgive you and your daughter. With 2 heavy thuds, her parents, in tears, dropped to their knees and kowtowed to me. This is a sin, miss. Our family has wronged you. We failed to raise our daughter properly. We'll move out immediately. Lara was stunned into silence by the scene, and I made no effort to stop her parents from kneeling. Mimicking her earlier arrogance, I said, "Do you see now? You've hurt me and my daughter without restraint, and the consequences have fallen on your parents. There's nothing wrong with a woman having ambition, but ambition should drive you to work hard and move forward, not to abandon shame and take shortcuts. Anything given to you by others is merely borrowed, and the giver can take it back at any time." Lara's face darkened further. I thought to myself, no matter how blinded Victor was, he wouldn't willingly give her cars and houses. She was simply taking advantage of his temporary misfortune. I pressed harder. Do you know why you still can't have children? It's because you climbed to your position in my blood and pain. Your destiny to have children was severed long ago. Even a child would be ashamed to have a mistress as their mother and would refuse to enter your womb. I remembered seeing Lara brewing traditional Chinese medicine during my last visit to the villa. Having worked at a TCM clinic, I could tell at a glance it was for treating infertility. When I revealed her hidden condition, Lara's face contorted in rage. She lunged at me. Victor, who had been silent, stepped in and restrained her, pressing her shoulders down. But that was all he did. Chapter 11. Lara smirked, confident of her victory, and gave me a mocking look. Of course, Victor had always been on her side. He had unconditionally favored her. The last time, when I forced Lara to drink toilet water, Victor rushed in and shoved me violently. My back hit the sink, and I fell to the ground, unable to get up for 5 minutes. I watched helplessly as he scooped Lara into his arms and carried her out. Right or wrong, Victor always left me utterly alone. My eyes dimmed. Even though I had long since lost all hope in Victor, I still wished he would stand up for his daughter just once. I'm holding her back. Go ahead. Hit her until you feel better. His words stunned everyone in the room. Lara froze in disbelief. What are you saying? How can you help her bully me? Victor sneered and twisted her hands behind her back. This is bullying? What about everything you've done to Selena and Sophia? Letting her hit you is merciful. I didn't know why Victor had suddenly turned against her, but I wasn't going to hold back. I slapped her 10 times in quick succession. Lara's father remained kneeling, silent. Her mother tried to plead for her, but her father stopped her with a shout. "This is your fault. You kept filling her head with ideas about marrying a rich man. Think about what she's done to someone else's family. She needs to pay for what she owes. She's an adult. She should take responsibility for her own mistakes." Lara was in pain and full of grievance, but she couldn't break free. Her tears fell in large droplets. Her parents, her boyfriend, not a single person stood by her. This was what it meant to be utterly abandoned. Chapter 12. Not long after, the police arrived. Knowing how troublesome Lara could be, I had filed a report in advance. I also presented the newly reissued property deed. Lara's eyes bulged in disbelief as she had no choice but to accept defeat. I yanked at her hair. "What about the 80 million? You don't want me to accuse you of fraud, do you? Give me a few days. I'll figure out how to get it to you." With that, she shamefully took her parents and left. After returning to the rental house, I started packing. Sophia clumsily taped up boxes. "Mommy, we're moving. Should we go say goodbye to Uncle Eric?" "Uncle Eric?" Victor, who had been dragging heavy items, stopped and looked at me with a questioning glare. I didn't know where his sudden anger had come from. If that 80 million hadn't arrived yet, I would have kicked him out onto the street already. Victor still followed me to Eric's house. Eric, 27, was tall and fair-skinned. He didn't drink or smoke, only cared about food. I brought fruit and local specialties and secretly placed a packet of money under his sofa. I thanked him for taking care of me these past few years. Eric looked reluctant, his eyes glistening with emotion. "Selena, you leave me an address. I'll stop by to visit you and Sophia whenever I pass by." Without hesitation, I sent him my address on WeChat. After Sophia fell asleep, Victor finally asked, "Eric was looking at you like he was about to devour you. Don't tell me you two don't have anything going on." Victor's double standards were utterly exasperating. Even if something had happened, it was none of his business. "Eric does like me, but we're not like you and Lara, dirty and twisted." Victor found my words harsh, but couldn't argue. Lara was indeed disgusting, and so was he. I opened my hands, revealing my calloused palms. "Victor, I'm not omnipotent. These hands can't do everything. I can't fix circuits. I can't lift heavy things. And no matter how careful I am, I can still get sick. Eric has helped me countless times. He's always supported me, and he's taken care of Sophia a lot. I'm grateful to him, which is why I invited him for a meal and gave him gifts. I didn't reject him outright because I truly don't know what else to do." Victor's accusations turned into guilt. If he had ever fulfilled his responsibilities as a father and a husband, I wouldn't have needed the help of an outsider. Victor asked with concern, "You said he saved you. What happened?" This was actually related to Victor. Chapter 13. On New Year's Eve, the first year after our divorce, I was working non-stop delivering food. When the fireworks exploded in the sky, my small electric scooter slipped, and I was thrown several meters away. I lay on the ground, blood pooling around my head. I looked up to see the fireworks display spelling out, "Lara, still love you next year." I earned 6 yuan for each delivery, and all I got was a thank you. But true feelings? Worth nothing at all. At that moment, I closed my eyes. I really wanted to never wake up again. Unfortunately, I soon fell into someone's arms. I thanked him and told him not to worry about me. I'll be fine after resting for a bit. Eric, a pastry chef, might have been moved by my recklessness in rushing deliveries or perhaps stunned when I took off my helmet. He drove me to the hospital, paid for my medical expenses, and brought me a hot meal. A stranger's kindness helped me get through that difficult night. After talking, I learned that we lived quite close to each other. When I was discharged, every coincidence Eric orchestrated, I pretended to be surprised. Among the men who deliberately tried to get close to me, he was the most reliable and considerate. But unfortunately, I no longer trusted men. I only wanted to find Sophia a decent male role model who could guide her as she grew up. After hearing this, Victor's face turned red, then pale, filled with shame. "I'm sorry. I was such a jerk before. I never thought about you or Sophia. You carried all the burdens alone. From now on, I'll take good care of both of you." I smiled but said nothing and went back to my room to sleep. Victor didn't get discouraged. He reported his progress in the Her True Heart group chat. Upgrade achieved, tonight I'm on the sofa. And during the day, she treated me to a meal. Tomorrow, I'll do my best. Everyone congratulated him. One person who knew me added, why didn't you act like this earlier? When she was your wife, she could have demanded money, designer bags, jewelry, or haute couture like Lara. But she didn't. She only wanted you. You were the one who ruined her completely. In the middle of the night, I half awoke to a message. Wife, I love you so much. I rolled over and muttered, idiot. Chapter 14. The next morning, Victor was up bright and early. He cheerfully bought breakfast and even helped Sophia braid her hair. During the move, he busied himself with everything, not letting me lift a finger. I figured he wanted to stay, which explained his eagerness to please. After all, he was bankrupt and couldn't afford to rent a place. Since the apartment had many rooms, I let him stay temporarily. After all, I hadn't received the 80 million yet. But instead of getting the money, I received an online firestorm. That day, as soon as I stepped out, a group of people cornered me and beat me up. The front door was covered in red paint spelling out beast, and foul-smelling garbage was scattered all around. Sophia, crying, tried to save me but was pushed to the ground. Victor quickly locked Sophia inside the house and rushed to fight off the attackers. It turned out that a secretly recorded video had gone viral online. The video was edited and cropped, showing no context. It depicted two elderly people kneeling and kowtowing to me while I appeared to mock them. At first glance, it looked like I was abusing them. Meanwhile, Lara, her swollen face from being slapped clearly visible, went live on social media. She claimed I had tortured her, forced her elderly parents onto the streets, and extorted 80 million yuan from her. She also accidentally revealed the address of the house. That's how today's incident happened. I understood immediately she had no intention of returning the money. She just wanted to make my life unbearable. The scene of the kneeling and kowtowing was far too inflammatory. If the elderly couple had insisted on their version of events, nothing I said would have cleared my name. Once I realized this, I immediately called the police to collect evidence, and the attackers were quickly arrested. Next, I registered an account and released a full 3-hour video. The footage captured the entire process from that day without a single cut. The video was clear, and even the smallest sounds were recorded. I had chosen the micro camera carefully at the electronics market. That day, I had secretly placed it on the bookshelf opposite the sofa as soon as I entered the house, anticipating potential disputes later. Over the past 4 years, I'd dealt with countless scoundrels and bullies and had learned the importance of staying vigilant. Once the video was posted, public opinion flipped. The sympathy Lara had garnered was replaced by furious condemnation. So the wife beat the mistress, and the homeowner kicked out a thief. If it were me, I'd have hit her even harder. This green tea bee ***** really knows how to twist the truth. Does she have no bottom line? She even used her parents. Does a mistress ever have a bottom line? But that wasn't all. I screen recorded the provocative messages Lara had sent me over the years and paired them with detailed descriptions and images of the hardships my daughter and I had endured. Chapter 15. Victor's infidelity was something I could have exposed long ago. I'd held back, not for his sake, but out of consideration for his parents' reputation and the company's stability. His parents treated me with immense kindness, as if I were their own daughter. But now, with the company bankrupt and his parents overseas, there was nothing left to hold me back. If Lara wanted to dig her own grave, I'd make sure she was buried completely. After disconnecting Sophia from the internet, I hit post. Lara's comment section erupted again. Oh my god, this mistress is a vampire. Stealing a man for money wasn't enough. She even took the wife's daughter's house and settlement money. Absolutely shameless. You love sending bedroom photos to the wife. Huh? Why don't you go make a career of it? Didn't your parents teach you any shame? You pushed the wife into early labor, nearly killing her and the baby. You're quite something, aren't you? I despise mistresses more than anything. If I don't come to hit you, I'm not a real woman. Lara was so terrified that she didn't show her face for days. Victor and his company also became targets of attacks. Ladies, I screenshotted every post from the scumbag and the mistress's accounts. Look at this, while the wife and daughter were suffering. The scumbag and the mistress were on vacation. Just that bag next to the mistress could have supported the wife and daughter for 4 years. How could you sit there eating steaks worth tens of thousands with your mistress while your daughter couldn't even afford baby formula? Are you even human? You dressed up the mistress like a goddess while your wife's outfit didn't cost more than 300 yuan. What unforgivable thing did your wife do to deserve this? Your wife was an orphan to begin with, and you teamed up with the mistress to bully her? Doesn't your conscience hurt? Oh, wait, you don't have one. If you did, you wouldn't have cheated on her while she was pregnant. As the flood of insults poured in, Victor sat beside me. I watched him silently as he broke down in tears, slapped himself, and downed glass after glass of whiskey. I couldn't understand it. I was the one who had suffered. I hadn't cried. What was he crying about? Oh, was he upset that Lara was being scolded? Compared to him and Lara, my comment section was much gentler, filled with comforting and encouraging messages. The wife is truly beautiful. Even without makeup, she's far more stunning than the mistress. It's heartbreaking that someone so amazing could be wronged. What does a woman have to do to be truly loved? 3 years ago, the mistress came to work at my shop. She was raising her daughter alone. She ate nothing but steamed buns and bottled water herself. Yet she took excellent care of her child. The little girl was quiet and well-behaved. Both mother and daughter were incredibly resilient. Sis, have you gotten your house back yet? What about the settlement money? Has the mistress returned it? If not, we'll help you get it back. I responded to every single message. Those heartfelt words, pouring in through the internet, gave me strength. The people who attacked me before came to my door to apologize, offer compensation, and even bring gifts for Sophia. They, too, had been manipulated by the mistress into feeling sympathy for her. Afterward, these same people unfurled a banner outside Lara's building. The mistress in apartment 801 forced the wife into premature labor, stole her daughter's house, and welcomes all unmarried men to visit. Lara's door was constantly knocked on, sometimes by people looking to confront her, other times by those trying to take advantage of her. Every day, she lived in terror. Somebody set up loudspeakers around her apartment complex to play a repeating message. Has Lara paid her debts today? Someone even rented an apartment opposite hers and installed high-definition cameras for 24-hour surveillance and live streaming. Unexpectedly, someone eventually broke down her door and gave her a severe beating. Lara's parents faced widespread scorn from their relatives and friends. Her father was so distressed that he ended up in the hospital. Chapter 16. Lara, sobbing uncontrollably, sent me messages begging for mercy. Letting her off was simple. Pay me back, not just the 80 million yuan, but also every penny he spent on you before our divorce, including hotel bills. Second, issue a public apology. 3 days later, I received 85.04 million yuan and a public apology video from Lara herself. I figured the lesson was harsh enough, and since I had gotten my money, I decided to post online, signaling an end to the matter. Lara finally caught a small break. But soon, another apology video thrust her back into the public eye. Victor came forward with a detailed account of his entanglement with Lara. Lara had been relentless, targeting Victor as soon as she joined the company. She catered to his preferences and orchestrated coincidental encounters. Despite knowing he was married, she deliberately seduced him. Victor admitted he had failed to resist her advances and that they had engaged in multiple affairs while I was pregnant. He claimed he had been blinded by greed and deception, falling for Lara's manipulations and making countless poor decisions. Victor said he deeply regretted the harm he had caused to those who loved him. He vowed to make amends through actions, not words. I don't seek forgiveness, only the chance to fulfill my duties as a husband and father, he said, asking the public to hold him accountable. The comment section was split, half spewing insults, the other half waiting to see if he would follow through. Victor began treating me exceptionally well. So well that he would even wash my hair for me. So well that the fruit he prepared for me was always peeled. But simply being good to me wasn't enough. I poured Victor a sidecar cocktail. Do you know why Lara dared to recklessly take things from Sophia and me? The glass paused at his lips. Because I was blind to right and wrong, and I took her side. I shook my head. No, it's because No matter how much she hurt me, she was never punished. You're right. He downed the drink in one gulp. 2 days later, Victor filed a lawsuit against Lara, demanding repayment for everything he had spent on her. The legal team was aggressive. I asked him how he could afford such high-caliber lawyers. He said they were working pro bono, hoping to gain publicity from the case. The house, car, luxury goods, and some money. Lara could barely return part of it, but her daily expenses had always been extravagant. Everything she once swallowed, she now had to spit out piece by piece. When she ran out of money, there were still other punishments. Victor's final gift to Lara was a pair of silver bracelets and an iron house. The internet applauded. Justice was served. Victor found her belongings distasteful and quickly sold them off. The 500 million yuan he made from the sales was offered to me as a token of apology. I returned it. The 80 million yuan I have is more than enough. Your family is bankrupt. Pay off your debts first. Or start a small business. Work hard and bring your parents back. Life abroad is tough for the elderly. My response surprised Victor, though, on reflection, he realized it was consistent with who I was. I had always cared deeply for Victor's parents. He accepted my decision. All right, consider it a loan from you. Victor shared a screenshot in the group chat. She gave me 500 million yuan. The chat, titled Her True Heart, exploded. 666. Bro, you played a game and actually figured out who was true and who wasn't. Whoa. 500 million. Where did you find such a good wife? Are you blind for letting her go in the first place? Dude, she's been through so much. You owe her. Don't lie to her again. The group name, Her True Heart, felt jarringly ironic. Could deceit ever really test true feelings? A few days later, Victor confessed that he had been pretending to be broke. It was all a test, for me and Lara. I was surprised but saw it as good news. Victor's parents were fine. Lara had been exposed, and Sophia once again had a father in her life. I asked him what the stakes of the bet were. A pink diamond, worth over 50 million yuan. Since I helped you win, give it to me. Victor, seeing that I wasn't pursuing the matter, grinned ear to ear. Of course, my dear wife. He called me that so naturally. When he touched my ear, he noticed it was bare. Chapter 17. That afternoon, Victor dragged me to the mall for a shopping spree. Jewelry, clothes, handbags. I accepted everything Victor bought for me, even complimenting him like Lara once did. He spent money with such enthusiasm, dressed in a red dress, adorned with jewelry from head to toe. I looked radiant and full of life. Victor took photos and posted them online, sparking sharp comments from netizens. This is more like it. Make it up to your wife and child properly, and I'll supervise you every day. In the following days, Sophia and I either went to Disney to watch fireworks, visited Chuanzhou for its traditional flower decorations, or traveled to Hainan for coconut chicken. The happiness was visible to the naked eye. Gradually, netizens began to relax. Seeing the corporation's reputation improve and its stock prices rise, I finally felt at ease. I called Victor's father to share the good news. On the day the bet ended, I received that pink diamond necklace and was added to Victor's private group chat with his close friends. Wearing the necklace, I went to meet the person Victor originally intended to give it to. Lara looked haggard and pale, with a wound on her forehead. I spoke first. Did you know that Victor pretended to be broke? It was all just a test for true feelings. Lara froze for 2 seconds, then suddenly erupted in anger. What did you say? He pretended? That's impossible. His friends kicked him out of their circle. I even went to his company, and the boss had changed. That was staged. Lara shook her head repeatedly, as if the revelation had deeply shaken her. Then, she glanced at me, draped in designer brands, recognizing them as marks of victory. So you passed the test? You're willing to pay his debts? You really are the kind of fool that fortune favors. I smiled and changed the subject. You're not without ability. If you worked hard, you could live a decent life. At the very least, you wouldn't end up in jail. Men can't be relied on. Men only love themselves. A mocking expression appeared on Lara's face, followed by 2 tears sliding down her cheeks. I didn't want to take your house or your money at first, but I just couldn't accept it. Why did he lie next to me and still warn me not to let you find out? Why was the divorce forced by you? But he still refused to agree? Why? Even after the divorce, did he voluntarily give you so much money? Why? On the day you left, did he hide away and cry alone? Looking at the hysterical Lara, I suddenly understood. No wonder you lost. No wonder you kept making foolish mistakes. Perhaps just a little, but Lara had fallen in love with Victor. As for why Victor was being good to me now, it was probably because, when I loved him most selflessly, Victor handed me a share transfer agreement. He lied, saying it was a wedding planning document, and asked me to sign it. I pretended not to care, signing it without a second thought. At the time, I loved him so much that I was willing to give him everything, to support his career wholeheartedly. Victor always knew I didn't love money. I only loved him. But what was the point of it all? He still fell in love with someone else. Now he's chasing me, only because he finally understands the value of sincerity. But my love for him had long stopped. It ended completely the moment I saw him and Lara embracing in the hallway as I lay on a stretcher after narrowly surviving childbirth. At the end of summer vacation, Victor placed a document in front of me, his hand covering the top half. Sophia's school transfer form. You just need to sign at the bottom. Victor's gaze was gentle, his smile faint. I clearly saw words like 20%, shares, and gift on the document, but I pretended to be uninterested and signed quickly. Victor slipped the document into my bag, looking at me with nothing but affection. I knew he was about to naturally bring up the topic of remarriage. I smiled and said, "Thank you, big brother." The word brother stung him. Victor suddenly stepped forward and hugged me tightly. "Don't call me brother. I want to be with you. You know that. I love you." When we divorced, it wasn't for Lara. I was afraid you'd hurt yourself again. You didn't want me to the point of preferring death. I have my pride too. I wanted to find you. But how could I lower myself to do that? Victor's absurdity made me laugh. He was just greedy. He wanted both. But that decisive act of mine back then had left him angry and unsatisfied for 4 whole years. I had already let go. I was wrong before. I thought what I felt for you was love. But it was family. You will always be my family. Chapter 18. 4 years ago. That metaphorical bullet had hit Victor square in the forehead. He desperately denied it. No, it's not like that. You love me. I can feel it. You were just hurt too deeply. Let's spend some time rebuilding what we had, okay? I suddenly asked in a calm voice. If Lara had passed her test, that phone call would never have been made to me, right? Victor opened his mouth, but thinking about that scenario left him unable to deny it. I nodded, my heart already at peace. I'll head back and help Sophia prepare for her transfer. As I walked out the door, I faintly heard him say, "If I didn't love you, why would I have married you?" That was his issue, not mine. I only knew that the 20% equity, with annual dividends in the billions, was mine now. I had traded 500 million yuan for many more billions, a highly profitable deal. The day I discovered the Her True Heart group chat was the same day Victor broke down crying under a wave of online criticism. He drank heavily, completely drunk and unconscious. A message popped up, "Bro, this has gotten so big. Are we still continuing the True Heart test?" By some strange compulsion, I stared at the screen for a long while. Even more unexpectedly, I found that his lock could be opened with my birthday. And so, I learned about their game. I also learned that Lara fell from favor because she failed the challenge. In that case, I couldn't afford to lose. Knowing Victor's generous personality, giving up 500 million yuan would only make him give me more in return. So I put on a performance of treating money as dirt and completely gained Victor's trust. How ridiculous. A group of rich second-generation heirs toying with people's feelings, yet naming their chat Her True Heart. True Heart? How much is that worth? Money is what really matters. Money brings security, confidence, leverage, and options. On my way home, I bought myself a sophisticated, elegant dress. A week later, I would start my new role at the company. Yesterday, Victor's father also gave me a reward, the position of managing a branch office. Passing by a toy store, I bought Sophia the bear-shaped building blocks she had wanted for a long time. On the way home, I wondered how to explain to her that Dad would now be her uncle. To my surprise, Sophia accepted it calmly. It's okay, because Dad is a traitor, right? He gave up on me for Aunt Lara, and then he gave up on Mom for Aunt Lara. So, what's most important isn't Dad. It's Mom, and for Mom, the most important thing is me. I never expected a 4-year-old to say something so mature. I knelt down and hugged her tightly. I will make Sophia a true princess. I will pave her path with gold and flowers. Victor had his heart broken. He stayed holed up in his villa for a long time before heading to the apartment complex at Jinhua, watching and sitting outside for half a day. In the end, he returned to his old home. His parents were sunbathing in the yard. He went straight to the second floor and opened Selena's room. Lying down on her bed, he fell asleep. He decided he would stay here for a while. When he woke up, he opened her drawer. There wasn't much inside. Her childhood hairpins, her high school glasses, the necklace she bought with money from her summer job, and a few diaries. He pulled them out and began reading, one by one. When he got to the childhood memories, he couldn't help but laugh. But gradually, Selena's diaries took a different turn. They became love letters. Page after page was filled with the confessions of a young girl secretly in love with her older brother. The more Victor read, the more blurred his vision became. On the last page, there was only one sentence. Selena likes Victor. Will Victor like Selena? The 18-year-old Selena reached across time to ask the 28-year-old Victor this question. Without thinking, he wanted to write his answer. But unfortunately, he didn't have a pen. He opened the other two drawers. But there wasn't a pen there either.